Welcome in to Movin the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside John Epps. We're back for our 3A, 4A, and 5A season previews tonight, John. We did 1A, 2A SCSA on Monday. Had a lot of fun doing those. Got a lot of good feedback. But, man, I'm excited for these three classes tonight, too, as we have a lot of contenders, I feel like, at every level.
Oh, for sure. And, we were talking about Monday, talking about how much we love 2A. We're going to get into 3A here in a second.
Yeah.
If there's a class I like more than 2A, it's 3A. Love talking about 3A and just going through the preseason polls. I think 3A is going to be a lot of fun and very, very competitive this year, too.
Yeah, it'll be a great class for sure. If you guys are just tuning in, be sure to like our page here, like this post, share it out to your friends. Be sure to comment. Love to get y'all's feedback throughout the show. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains, MOVINCHAINS.com. That's our website as well. It's got our message board on there, John, our road trip. Lots of good content on there as well as some blogs and things like that. Podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Got Drell Hendricks running the board again tonight for us. He'll hop on here in a little bit, John. But any other thoughts before we get into these rankings and get into some previews for these classes?
I'm ready to do it. I'm excited.
Man, it's going to be a lot of fun for sure. And just so you guys don't forget, we do a preview show weekly as well, previewing each week's games. We'll have that coming to you next Tuesday. So be sure you hop in for that as well as we get the biggest games of the week, along with a statewide kind of look at the whole schedule. So that'll be a lot of fun. But John, let's start with 3A. Let's look at the poll, the SC Prep poll, media poll that came out earlier this week. Once again, not our poll. We don't necessarily agree with it, but that's what's out right now. We'll have our own coming out here probably week 3, week 4, something like that, John. But let's take a look at what we've got here, and that'll kind of give us a starting point for some discussion and kind of go from there here in 3A.
I think we could spend the whole show just talking about this poll. Not that it's bad. There's just so many really good teams in it. So let's get kicked off here. Coming in at number 1 preseason, getting 11 of the 15 first-place votes is the Dillon Wildcats.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, your defending state champions, the Beaufort Eagles. Number 3, Daniel. This has got to be the furthest back Daniel has been in a preseason poll in a long time. Number 4, Clinton Red Devils. 5, Camden. 6, the Chester Cyclones. 7, Belton Honeypath. 8, Powdersville. 9, Gilbert. And 10, the Manning Monarchs. Receiving votes, but not getting in that top 10, you got Broome, Chapman, Brooklyn Casey, Crestwood, who I'm pretty high on this year, Philip Simmons, Seneca, and Hanahan, who had a great year last year as well.
Yeah, let's start there at the top, John. Dillon, always a contender. We had Coach Roller on about a week ago, Drill, and I kind of did a season preview with him, and they've got a lot of talent. Everybody knows Josiah Thompson, the offensive line commit to South Carolina, one of the best players in the state, if not the best player in the state. They've got the young quarterback, Josiah Oxendine, a sophomore. Was a pretty good player last year. They didn't ask him to do a ton as a freshman, of course, but he's gotten better. He's gotten stronger, more athletic there. A player I really like, Jamarion Fling. I think he had, like 7 or 8 picks last year. I think 5 or 6 were pick sixes. Also gets some time at running back. Does a great job there for them. Camarion, Peanut Singletary, great nickname there. Another big-time playmaker for them. The worry with Dillon right now, and this is something they can work on throughout the year, but they don't have a ton of depth at the line. That's offensive and defense. They have some guys going both ways. A lot of times these 1A, 2A, 3A classes, they have guys going both ways, but they try to mitigate it on the line as much as they can. But it looks like Dillon's going to have to do something this year, so that could always worry you a little bit there. But the Wildcats and Coach Roller, we know they're going to be a contender. They're going to be playing one of those last couple weekends in November for sure.
Yeah, and the talent is certainly there. And, having a 10th grader quarterback that's already got a year under his belt, he's only going to get better. Oxendine, I know they're really excited about him. And Dillon, this is a team that they lost in the lower state championship last year at home to Beaufort.
On a tough call, really.
A really, really tough call that completely flipped the momentum and just the climate of that whole ball game. And that was a game, if that call, and not that it was – we could still debate that call, whether it was the right call or not. Goes Dillon's way. They could have been in Columbia playing Powdersville for the state championship. So they're close. They're very, very close, as they typically are. They're going to be very good, and I am okay with them being preseason number 1. I think that's a pretty logical choice here for 3A.
Yeah, and now the team that did beat them and win the state title last year, the Buford Eagles. This is a team, John, that I don't know a ton about yet. Casey Fields graduated, Colton Ferris graduated. They're kind of their two-headed monster. They're running the ball. Quarterback Samari Bonds is back. He's an athletic player, kind of a dual threat there. In that state title game, they didn't throw a pass. I think he's going to have to throw some passes this year, I think, for what they've got coming back. Got a few key pieces up front to replace. We'll see how that goes. But Coach Libren has done a phenomenal job there at Buford. 2 years ago, playing for state in 4A, the lower state winner there. They lost to South Point, but they still played for that title game. And then last year, winning it in 3A. They're going to be a contender, a team that I'm very interested to see early in the year. They have some big games. They play Fort D early in the year, a couple other big-time non-region games. Looking forward to learning about those guys early on because right now I feel like I just don't know a ton about what the Eagles bring back.
No, they were that backfield was so good last year with those two backs, Fields and Ferris. And to not know what that's going to be replaced with it's tough to say, Buford's going to be right back in Columbia again. You'd like to think, hey, they got some good talent to replace it because the last few years they've been very, very talented, really across the field. It will be interesting, but they are. I'm putting a question mark by Buford because I just don't know.
Yeah.
Just don't know yet. But we'll find out pretty quickly about Buford and what they've got for this year.
For sure. Who was 3 and 4 in that poll, John? I already forgot you. It was Chester.
So 3 is Daniel.
Okay. Daniel, another team similar to Buford, lost a lot. Eli Merck's gone. Blaine Simons is gone. Myson Kelly's gone. A lot of the names that you remember hearing from Daniel the last couple of years, no longer there. The O-line have a couple big guys back along with Watson Young, the App State commit. I've heard they had some transfers come in. Not sure how well they're meshing yet. We'll see how that goes. But, this is a team that has not played a lot of close games the past couple of years, even in the playoffs, really, until that Powdersville game that they lost last year. Interesting to see, how Coach Frooster does, because he's probably going to have to play some close games this year when they usually don't. But this is a team that, they've got the name brand, they got name recognition. You think they will come along as the season gets, goes along, they'll get better and better. But another team similar to Buford, don't know a ton about right now. Interesting to see how they've got what they've got when they get rolling here in a few weeks.
Yeah, a ton of really, really talented playmakers that Daniel had last year. They've got to replace now. And, if you ever look at a silver lining for a loss, I'm thinking losing that game to Powdersville last year, you can really use that as fuel to drive these new playmakers and new guys that have to step up this year. You're starting number 3 in the preseason poll. Daniel, their goal is number 1. It's not, hey, cool, we're in the top 3. They want to be number 1. And that could really put a fire to get these kids to really put in the work and put in the effort to step up and regain that position as the team to beat in 3A. But they got to prove it.
Yeah.
And, it'll be exciting to see, can they do it over the course of the season?
Yeah, another perennial contender, the Camden Bulldogs, John, a team that brings a lot back. I think everybody that scored a touchdown last year is back for them, Coach Remp said. Grayson White, this will be his 4th year starting at quarterback. The kid wasn't even supposed to be a quarterback his freshman year. Has some injuries. He ends up being the quarterback now. He's held that position for 4 years now. A really good player, really smart with the ball, runs it and throws it very well. Avery Hickman back at running back, one of our Super 75 players. He's a stud. John Mayrant outside is a big-time player.
Really like Mayrant.
You do worry, obviously, last year they had Xavier McLeod and Shymeek Jones on the D-line. You got to replace both of those guys. So we'll see how that goes. They've got a corner, I believe his name is Purvis, I like a lot on that side of the ball. But Camden, they're going to be tough up front, as always. Good running attack, good defense. They'll be a contender, but looking to see what they develop kind of on that defensive line for sure.
Yeah, and the thing for Camden that has hurt them the last couple of years, they've had great talent. They've been tough on that defensive line, very, very tough on that defensive line. But offensively, they've lacked a little bit of explosiveness. And where they've lost a couple of times to Dillon now, late in November. And it's if they could get a little more explosive on offense. And I think Mayrant could be the answer there. He's got another year under his belt. He's a very talented player. They can put outside, spread around a little bit, stretch defenses.
Yeah, I think he had 1,000 yards receiving last year, which means kind of surprising for the offense that came to run. But I think he had just over 1,000. He's had a really big season there.
That's going to be the question for Camden. They're well coached. They got a very, very great environment to play in there at Zemp Stadium, got great support. I think that offensive explosiveness will be what dictates how far Camden goes this year.
Yeah, I agree with you on that for sure. I do want to talk about this Clinton Red Devils team. I just saw a comment from Zach pop up there. A team that went to the Upper State Final last year before losing to Powdersville. They lose some talent with the Copeland kids, and they lose Bryson James, but they've got some players back. Jaden Robinson at running back was really good last year, ran for 1,000+ yards, part of that three-headed monster there. Zavarion Johnson at DB is a Cincinnati commit. He's a big-time athlete as well. I like Ryan Gordon a lot on the O-line. They've got another Copeland kid. That's a bloodline name for sure. Gaffney has the Little Johns. Clinton has the Copelands, it seems like, who they're playing for them. And I've seen some highlights in their scrimmages and stuff so far. They may throw it more than they had the past couple of years. So we'll see how that goes for them. But excited to see, comment from Zach says Clinton beat Chapin in a scrimmage 49-28 last night. Chapin hasn't been a powerhouse by any means, but it is a bigger school, so still like to see that.
5A school.
So, Coach Fountain does a great job down there. They do lose Coach Bennett, who was their kind of O-line coach, co-OC, after to replace him there. But Coach Campbell's back running that defense there. They're going to be, this is a program, John, where a lot of tradition. They were very good back in the day, had some down years, but now Coach Fountain has built them back up where I don't think, losing a player or two is going to be a huge loss for them. They're going to be a perennial contender like a Dylan, like a Camden, like a Daniel the next couple of years. Because I think he's done a great job building that program up.
And you talk about, they could potentially be changing that offensive look a little bit. And that's a huge credit to the coaching staff to show that versatility and say, hey, we're not going to be stuck to this particular scheme. We're going to use our players the best way we see fit. If that's running the ball, if that's throwing the ball, whatever that may be. And they've got it. They've got talent. It's not like they've only got one or two guys that can play. They got talent all over the place. So they get the right scheme and let those guys play their best ability. Clinton's going to be right there again late November in the playoffs too. For sure.
Who are a couple other teams you like, Johnson? I've got a couple more notes I want to get to, but who are some guys you want to shout out and maybe talk about here for a second?
I think we need to mention just with the poll, Powdersville.
Yeah. Got to talk about the Patriots for sure.
We talked a lot about Powdersville last year. They had talent all over the place. They still returned quarterback Eli Hudgens this year. We didn't talk about their defense all that much last year because of how good that offense was and how fun that offense was to watch. But I think they're going to be very, very good again. And for me, that key part is, they got a taste of success. And then last year they got a taste of, we can go all the way. We can make it to the state championship game. And that was a 10-point game in Columbia.
Yeah. Had the lead for a lot of the game, at least the first half,
They've got belief that they can be good. Now, can they show staying power? Yep. And the fact that they bring back their quarterback that is very, very good, I think putting them they're at 8 here in the preseason poll. That's low to me. They're in my top 5.
I agree. I see Derek in here, Powdersville fan. Good to have you in here, buddy. We appreciate it. They obviously replaced Thomas Williams, which, one man can't do that job. He's now at VT playing ball. Got to replace Drake Sloan, Jalen Rambert, who was out a lot last year, of course. But like you mentioned, Eli Hudgens, their quarterback, is one of the better quarterbacks in the state. A really good athlete. He's a baseball commit, I believe, to Army right now. So a stud on the diamond as well. I like wide receiver Elijah Huggins a lot. Defensively led by Harrison Jeffries, one of our Super 75 guys. Xavier Fowler, I think, is also back. Another thing, with those pieces on offense with Thomas and Drake and those guys, they do lose OC Ryan Norton, now the head coach at Palmetto. That is a solid loss there for sure. But I think they bring in Doug Shaw, who's got plenty of experience. But I'm a huge Eli Hudgens fan. I think you're exactly right, John. He's going to lead that team. They're going to be back. I like their offensive line a lot. Drill, I'm sure you'll mention it here when you come on, but they've got some of the better tackles that we saw last year. And I think both those guys are back. So that's really fun to watch that offense roll there. And, Coach Muster has done a phenomenal job, starting that program from scratch, 10 years ago, whatever it was now. They are a team that is to be reckoned with each year as well. They've got talent come back. That area is going to continue to grow. They're going to continue to get talent. But yeah, I agree with you. Powdersville at 7 felt low to me when I saw
8.
that poll. 8. Oh, yeah. Even low. Felt low to me when I saw that poll.
And one other thing I want to mention, just from a player perspective in 3A, Philip Simmons. We don't talk about Philip Simmons a ton. They've got Rivals had Troy Stevenson, cornerback for those guys. They have him rated as a 4-star prospect. He's committed to Georgia Tech. So you get a chance to go see Philip Simmons sometime this year. Troy Stevenson would be worth the price of admission alone.
Yeah, they have been stout on defense the last couple of years. Coach Eric Bendig does a phenomenal job in there on that side of the ball, especially. And Troy is one of the better players in the state. He's another Super 75 guy we had. But Philip Simmons, the Iron Horses, have been really good. A program that I think went up to 3A just in this last move. Really solid team last year. Should be solid again this year, John. A couple teams I want to mention. I know you're high on this team, so I'll let you go first. But talk about Crestwood for us for a minute.
Yeah, I just like Crestwood over there in that Sumter area. They are in a tough region, and boy, they play with some intensity. I think every week I look at that Crestwood score, and it's like, whew, well, that was a competitive game.
Yeah,
they don't let anybody get away from them. They play some tough defense, and Crestwood, I think, is a team. They could be one of those teams that kind of comes on the scene that we go, oh, well, we haven't really talked about these guys lately. Kind of like the Andrew Jackson of 2A last year.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what Crestwood
can do. The quarterback, Javion Martin, is electric. I mean, he's a stud. Really good dual threat guy there for them. He is a big-time player, so it'll be fun to watch kind of in that region. Because it's always been Camden's region to win, it feels like. Can Crestwood make a move this year? Can they contend for that region title? We shall see. But the Knights are a very good football team, John. And that brings me to a team that I think, talk about low in the polls, this might be my upstate favorite. I think they're at least playing in the upper state title game. We'll put it that way. And that's the BHP Bears. Their running back, Marquise Henderson, he's a junior. He is special. Really, really explosive. Can take it to the house any given carry. I think he's back, along with some other talented pieces they've got there. I like Coach Blackson and the Bears to make a deep run this year, I feel like, John, in the 3 upper state playoffs.
And, BHP is always tough. They had a really good – they were one that, kind of – I wouldn't say burst onto the scene last year, but made that step up last year. Mm-hmm. And they're close. They're close to being really, really good.
Yeah.
To me, they're close to being a top – I think they're a fringe top 5 team. Mm-hmm. But we'll find out. We'll certainly find out early on this season whether they are legit contender or not.
Yeah, another team that was ranked pretty high that we'll see, the Chester Cyclones. We'll put it that way. They've always got a strong defense, it feels like, under Coach Floyd there. His son, Trooper Floyd, is back at quarterback, another year older, seems to be, a little more athletic this year, moving a little better as he kind of grows into, fills out his frame there. But Chester, they're always a tough out. They're ranked high in the polls this year. I do want to mention another team in the lower state that doesn't get a ton of talk, it feels like, and that's Manning, the Monarchs. Coach Kennedy is back. They've got a transfer from Lakewood at quarterback, Jeray Mitchell running the ball. One of my favorite players in this area, John, Jalen Cord. He's their all-region nose tackle, also plays running back. Love to see that. Love to see him on some goal line packages. That's a lot of fun there. And then starting running back, Tristan Timms, is a big-time player for Manning, a team that usually has finished kind of in that second, third spot behind Dillon in the region. I think that's probably where they end up this year, but they've got a good squad down there, the Monarchs do for sure. Anthony says Marlboro County defensive line this year has been more explosive than ever. Yeah, I tell you, I love the Purvis kid, the receiver from Marlboro County. Coach McCollum is doing a good job getting that program back on track. A program that, early 2000s was one of the best in the state, no matter the class. They've had a few down years, but hopefully they're trending upwards this year. I like what Coach McCollum is doing there for sure. They should be a fun squad to watch. The Bulldogs are.
That Marlboro County Dillon game is always a lot of fun, a lot of juice in that game.
Yeah, John, you know what's crazy? We've gone this long, probably, 20 minutes talking about 3A, and we probably haven't mentioned the best player in 3A yet. Okay. And that's running back Jalen McGill at Broome. I think he's a sophomore, maybe a junior. He is going to be a 4 or 5 star, getting a lot of offers already. I don't know if they can stop anybody on defense, but they're going to score a lot with Jalen McGill. So that's a team to look out for, a sneaky team, I think, this year. The Centurions will be.
And that'll be fun to watch, too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. A couple more we've got. I do want to shout out Chapman, always tough. Coach Cabin is there. I think this is his 3rd year now. I love Rashawn Cunningham, the wide receiver there. He's a big-time player. Hanahan. Hanahan is a team that had a strong season last year. It started off so hot. Had some coach issues. Coach Craig kind of suspended and whatnot. Finally ended up being let go. They bring in Milan Turner out of Georgia. He was the director of media relations at Georgia Southern most recently, but has won some state titles at Georgia ranks. We did a preview with him a couple weeks ago. Really good to talk to. Really enjoyed talking to him. They were hit by the transfer portal a little bit. We'll put it that way. They lost a couple players there, but their big-time running back, Kevon Rivera, is back. He's a load. Like what he's doing. And I tell you what, I like the coaching staff, too, around Coach Turner. Got a bunch of young guys in there. He's trying to really build a program, which I think is a good thing down there for the Hawks. And they're a team where I don't know if this is their year to make a deep run. That's a team to watch out for, I think, in the next couple of years for sure.
Yeah, they're another one that really made a big step up last year.
Yeah.
And really came on the scene as being a team that, could play with just about anybody.
Yeah, for sure. Last team I've got noted over here, John, I wanted to mention is Gilbert, a team that's always a tough out with Coach Leapart. They do lose Elias Graham-Woodbury, Jaden Allen Hendricks. The quarterback Drake Braddock is back. Interesting to see what they can, kind of get going in that run game. That's what, Coach Leapart likes to do, it feels like. So got to figure out some replacements there for them. But the Indians are always a tough out, and they've got one of the better home field advantages in 3A as well. So Coach Leapart and those guys do a great job. Drill, any thoughts you want to pop in here with 3A or any more comments we need to go over or teams we should go over and talk about before we do some picks, move on into the 4A ranks?
Yeah, man, I'll keep it brief so we're not having a 2-hour show tonight. You guys detailed it, pretty well. The biggest question I have, though, man, looking at it, and I go back to last year, you look at those top 5 teams in this poll, Dillon, Beaufort, Daniel, Clinton, and Camden, and then you go down, to Powdersville. Those are the teams that we constantly talked about last season. They all have a lot of question marks. They're going to, they have great coaches. These are stable, good programs. But, you see them up there and like, how's it actually going to shake out? Because they have to replace a lot of guys. You don't know what's going to happen. Are there going to be opportunities like you see here for a Chester to jump up there, for a BHP to knock off, Powdersville, some of these up and coming programs, like you said, a player like Jalen McGill at Broome, he's going to make some noise. That hand-to-hand program, they had a great season. Kevon Rivera, Super 75 player that we had. What can they do? There's a lot of noise around. You guys didn't even mention Seneca. People are mentioning Seneca.
Yeah.
It's just such a deep classification for football just to see what's going to happen there. I'm super excited. But like I said, let's keep this show going. We got to do it now. State championship predictions, guys. Who you got in 3A?
You and me first, John.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm going to say Dillon knocks off Powdersville. State championship.
I like it. You like the Patriots getting back there. I dig that. I think Upper State feels like they have more contenders than Lower State does. It feels like to me, Drill and John. I think I like Dillon. I think they figure out their line stuff. It's a team that has not been there in a while, but I think they get back there this year. I like Dillon, and I think they're going to play. Man, I am high on this BHP team. I'm going to take BHP right now, and then I'm sure we'll all be wrong, but we'll see what happens.
I like it.
Yeah, I'll jump in there. I'm going Coach Libran. This was a team last year that we thought was dead in the water halfway through. He makes that change to put Casey Fields in the backfield. Made the best coaching. I think he did the best coaching job. They went up to Dillon between the white walls to win that Lower State championship. I'm going Beaufort. Sorry, Zach. They're going to knock off the Clinton Red Devils in the state championship game.
I like that pick too.
That's a good pick. And now before we run in to talk about some of our friends, I do want to mention this. I don't know if you guys have seen our Facebook and Twitter posts, but we keep mentioning these Super 75 players. What that is basically, we put out a watch list for Mr. Football. 75 of I would say the best players in the state. It's got a lot of great traction. If you guys have not seen that, check it out on our Facebook page and our Twitter page. A lot of hard work went into that one. And, it kind of highlights how many studs we have across the state, John. So definitely check that out there. But, Drill, let's give a shout out to some friends here, and then we'll kind of get into the 4A ranks here in a minute.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
The George Agency has been serving the insurance needs of South Carolina for over 40 years. They're a full-line insurance agency concentrated in employee benefits and health insurance with an office in Mullins and Murrells Inlet, but they can help you all across the state. They have clients in Greer, Rock Hill, Columbia, and more, so wherever you are, they can help. Give Bradley, Wayne, Richard, and the crew a call or check them out online at thegeorgeagency.net. That's thegeorgeagency.net. All right, moving right along into 4A here, John. Let's look at that poll. A class that was really deep last year, it felt like, and I feel like it's really deep again this year, and it's got maybe more names returning as far as players go than any class. But let's start there in that poll, and we'll kind of go from there in the 4A ranks.
Yeah, I think the writers, press did a good job with the 4A poll here too. So a little bit more parity here. Northwestern comes in at number 1. They got 7 of those 15 first place votes. Number 2 is Greenville. They got 4 of the votes. Number 3, your defending state champions, the South Florence Bruins. They're also getting 4 votes. 4th is South Point. 5th, Hartsville. 6th, AC Flora. 7th is James Island. 8th, Catawba Ridge. 9th is Westside. And 10, West Florence. You have others receiving votes. You have Irmo, Myrtle Beach, Greenwood, Ridgeview, and Indian Land.
And this is a class, I think it speaks to how deep it is by, I think this is the closest disparity as far as the first place votes of any class we saw.
It is.
Got to start there with Northwestern. Last year's upper state winner lost to South Florence for the championship there. They bring back two of my favorite players in the state, quarterback Finley Polk and running back Turbo Richard. 2 really, really good stars there for them. They do have to replace some guys out wide. Elijah Caldwell is now at South Carolina. They do bring the Burris guys back, though, along with Greer. Hopkins also back outside. I think Jaden Nichols is back there as well. They do have to replace a lot of O-linemen. That does scare me a little bit, because it just takes those guys a little time to get gelled together. But they've got a lot of talent on that side of the ball. Coach Walford, we talked to him last week for season preview. He mentioned a young guy at defensive back, John, Zymir Gordon Miles, a freshman DB. He said he's a player to watch. So look forward to seeing him throughout this season, how they go. Really like Jamar Perry at DB, Will Massey at linebacker, 2 great players. But this is a team that we're going to find out a lot about next week, Saturday night, Bank of America Stadium, Providence Day. Jaden, can I think of the guy's name?
Lucas?
No, the quarterback. Jaden. Jarrell, hop in here. Jaden, give me the name.
Jaden Davis.
Jaden Davis, the quarterback for Providence Day.
Former Catawba Ridge quarterback.
Right.
Yes, Michigan commit. So that'll be a great game. But I think, Northwestern is a program that expects to make a deep run in the playoffs every year, John. And I think they've got a great team again this year. I think they'll be there again at the end.
And what they've got coming back, we talk about, then there's a lot of teams here in 4A we're going to touch on here in a moment who have to replace a lot. Northwestern, boy, they've got some really key pieces coming back. I feel like Turbo Richard has been part of the program for 6 years now.
Yeah.
Just because he's been that good for that long. He's one of my favorite players in the state. He's a lot of fun to watch. Hard to not pull for him. I tell you, this Northwestern team, they've got everything going for it. Mm-hmm. Everything that you want. They've got the support. They've got great coaching staff. They've got playmakers. They've got experience, and they've got belief. They know they can do it. And they know they belong there. They need to be there. They should be there. I think for me, Northwestern's the team to beat, but the team right behind them, number 2, Greenville getting a huge change for the quarterback this year, coming over from Easley.
No, he's going to Hillcrest.
Sorry,
yeah. They got Bryson.
We'll talk about that.
Bryson Drummond's back. Yeah.
Still a very good player.
Yeah.
Greenville's going to be very, very, very good too.
Yeah.
I really like Drummond, their quarterback, having some experience. And the offensive line at Greenville, honestly, to me, that's one of the biggest questions to me in 4A, because you go on rivals.com and you look at your top 25, whatever they have for the state of South Carolina. You got 2 of the offensive linemen on there.
Yeah.
And that has been the MO for the Red Raiders the last few years. But you go to the game and pass protection, I think could be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Now, if they are able to do that and give Drummond a little time, oh boy.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of trouble for everybody they play. That's the biggest question for me for the Red Raiders, and really for 4A as a whole. Because I think if that offensive line can really come together as an entire unit, protect Drummond, they could be really the team to beat. But right now, until I see it, I like Northwestern a lot.
And like you mentioned, Blake Frank's the SC commit. I think Tate is the other lineman. He's getting some big time offers as well. They've got some big name guys there. So you see how they hold up. But yeah, Bryson Drummond at quarterback's a really good player. Had a good season last year there. Obviously, wide receiver Mazio Bennett, one of our Super 75, is a South Carolina commit. one of the best players in the state, just electric with the ball in his hands. Great receiver there for those guys. One of my favorite players, John, that didn't get talked a lot last year because he kind of got hurt. Running back Jay Sherman, big time running back there for them. I think he's going to be impressive. Have a big year for them. Defensively, they do lose some guys, Edmondson and whatnot, who is a good player for them. Got to figure out a few pieces there. But I think the question for Greenville, and I don't know what it is, but I feel like they just can't quite get over the hump. It feels like the last couple of years. Had a tough loss late in the playoffs last year. Same thing 2 years before. They just can't quite get there to that state title game. But they've got the talent to do it, and Coach Porter does a great job there. This may be the year where they make that run all the way to Orangeburg now.
And it's not like, oh boy, they lost a 10-point game. No, they're a play away.
Yeah,
they were a play away. What was the AC Flora 2 years ago?
Yep, beat AC Flora and then lost to South Point, I believe.
Point.
Yep, in the next round.
And then last year against Northwestern, they're right. They are a play away from getting there.
Yeah. Next thing we got to talk about the defending state champions, the South Lawrence Bruins. Got to give them a shout out. They passed this off to us at the state title game, so I told them we put it on the screen. So there goes the Bruins logo right there for you guys. Appreciate what Coach Marlowe and those guys are do for us in the athletic department for sure. But this is a team that obviously you lose the North Sellers, you think all hope is lost. Not really. They've got a lot of talent back. Plus they had they were getting some transfers in. I think 9 or 10 transfers from I think what I saw, John. Amari Adams from Lake City down the D line, a big time 2025 recruit. They got 2 running backs. I believe Gilbert is one of their guys. Is one of the names. No, not Gilbert. Excuse me. Yeah, it is Gilbert and Adams. Or sorry, Gilbert McCray at running back are in. They're really good players for them. Livingston coming over too, I think, as well as another stud they've got. And then Shantron Harkless and Quincy Rose on defense are 2 big time players. They were playmakers last year for them. 2 are Super 75 guys there. The problem is, like Northwestern, they play in one of, if not the toughest regions in 4A. I had a comment there I saw about the Hartsville-South Lawrence game coming up. That's going to be a big-time ball game because that region, John, you don't get a break any week in that one.
No, I mean, gosh, you look at the region, you go, okay, who's your weakest team in Region 6? Well, it's definitely not South Lawrence.
Yeah.
You can't say it's West Florence.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Hartsville. You can't say that.
No.
Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach.
Got to be North Myrtle.
Maybe North Myrtle.
Yeah.
It's not Wilson.
Yeah.
I mean that is a murderer's row right there. Those are all going to be really good games, really good teams, and and you're exactly right. As good as Lenore Sellers is, they had a whole team.
Yeah,
that was a complete team, and they proved it through the season. They proved it through the playoffs. I mean, they wrecked people.
Yep.
They weren't winning games by, that call went their way. No. That did not come into factor for South Lawrence. So I think they're going to be right there again. We talk about that Hartsville game. That South Lawrence, West Florence game is going to be really, really fun because I think West Florence, they're going to be really good. They have Trey Leonard coming back at running back.
Yep.
The gap between those two, it may have been here last year. It's going to be pretty close this year. And we didn't realize what that gap was until we saw that game last year.
Yeah.
But I think that gap's going to be pretty tight.
Yeah, you mentioned West Florence. Coach Jennereth there bringing in Trey Leonard from Trinity Collegiate, a explosive running back. He's got an Arkansas offer already, along with a couple others. SC commit Kelvin Hunter on defensive back there. He's a good player for them. Franklin Emerson and a linebacker are going to take some snaps. A quarterback as well as a big-time player. They got to replace a few guys. They got some young players that got to step up, but they will be a tough out as well this year, of course, John. I do talk about James Island, a team that kind of snuck up on folks last year, I felt like. Not going to be sneaking up this year. People know who they are now. That defense last year was just absolutely nasty. A lot of those guys are back. Junior Maxwell is back. Braxton Scott at quarterback was out for a lot of last year due to injury. He's back. He's a big-time player. One of my favorite receivers in the state, Wooshie Ravenel. He's a stud out wide, and Montre Scott's back. This team under Coach McCoy, John, they're going to be a big-time contender, I think, in Lower State 4A, a team that we kind of forgot about for a while last year. Honestly, they are one of the contenders and one of the favorites, I think, in Lower State 4A.
Yeah, for sure. You look outside that Region 6, that PD region, if you will, James Island, they certainly – save the Midlands. Mm-hmm. They're the best team outside that region. And then even when you talk about Region 5, kind of that Midlands region, AC Flora, Irma, Ridgeview, they're as good as any of those guys too. And the fact that it's good at defenses they play, and if they can continue that that MO this season to have that great defensive play. They're going to be in every single ball game.
Yeah, got to always talk about South Point in 4A. You know, always a contender. They've got so much talent under Coach Collins there. Really like quarterback Malachi Marshall, one of our Super 75 guys there. The Dixon kid on the D-line's a stud as well. And like I said, we know they're going to have athletes. Just can they quite put it together? Same thing, though, as South Florence. Like this region for Northwestern with South Point, with Catawba Ridge, super tough to get out of. I mean, you hate to see somebody not make the playoffs in that region because I think 5 teams made it last year out of the 6. I think 4 of them won the first round ball games. I mean, they have a lot of really good contenders. Like Catawba Ridge with Coach Lindak, who's building something there, a younger program. Had to replace pieces, but they should be pretty solid. But they are going to be a tough out as always as well. Then Indianland, John, another team in that region that has some really big-time athletes. You know, Tamir Hickman-Collins just committed to Florida State, a linebacker, a couple weeks ago. He's a stud. They've got Jaden Singletary at running back and playing linebacker. The Indianland program, a school that is, you know, really grown. I remember they used to be 1A, I think probably 10, 15, 20 years ago, have grown to a 4A spot now. The Indianland program is on the rise as well.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, they're another one where they've got a high ceiling. Mm-hmm. They got a high ceiling. And it's just so with a lot of these 4A teams, we know what Greenville's coming back with. We know what Northwestern's coming back with, West Florence. But, you know, teams like Indianland, I'm not as sure about.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about. And they may come on and they may take that next step up this year and really be a threat to the rest of the state.
Yeah, I've got 2 teams I want to highlight that I think have potential to make deep playoff runs this year, John. And one of them is Hartsville, the Red Foxes. I am super high on Coach Calabrese and this team. Quarterback McKendry Douglas is back. Running back Carmelo McDaniel is back. You know, they kind of run more of like a option, like flex bone type offense, but they throw it a little bit more than you think as well, I would say. And Douglas can get it done there. These are 2 of our Super 75 guys. They're great players there. Also, they've got Webb Barnes back at linebacker, 101 tackles last year. And then Demarion Coe, a stud at defensive back, had 106 tackles last year, John. So that they really got it done there on the defensive side for the Red Foxes. You know, Drell and I got to see them firsthand last year against Camden. And these guys just don't quit. You know, Coach Calabrese does a great job of having them, you know, committed and believing in the program. Like, you know, Camden, you know, went up and down the field a couple times, those guys last year. Hartsville just did not give up, fought back. Was able to get a couple key turnovers, score a touchdown, like 2-point conversion to win. Hartsville, I think, is a team that is poised. If somebody's going to knock off South Florence, I think it's Hartsville in that region, not West. I mean, West Florence is good as well, but I think Hartsville is the team that's the number 2, I think, to contend with South Florence.
Okay. All right. I like that. Team I'm really excited about seeing is a team that came on, played really well down the stretch, had a good playoff run, have a great quarterback at the helm. Did have a coaching change. Mm-hmm. So there's that. West Side.
Yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to mention. Yeah.
West Side, Cutter Woods there at quarterback.
Stud.
A really, really, really good young player. Everything you want to have in a quarterback.
Yeah.
He's tough. He can move. Good arm. He's smart. Protects the football. Really fun team to watch. If they can get a little bit better on the defensive side of the football,
that's the question mark.
They're going to be tough.
Yeah, that's I mean, what it comes down to. We saw them play Greenville last year. They scored, I think, 30, 40 points and probably lost by 25. I mean,
that was a very exciting game.
Could not stop Greenville, but they've got 2 stud receivers, Josh Williams and Jamar Boston, 2 of the better players in the state. Boston just got an NC State offer, I think I saw. And head coach mentioned the change. Scott Early retires. They get Brian Lane. Everybody knows his name from Burns back in the day to South Florence to Woodruff, most recently at Clover. So he'll be over there at West Side now. Has a lot of great offensive concepts. I think Cutter Woods is going to have a phenomenal year this year, put up some big-time numbers. He's going to be a great player. I think West Side is a team that can make a deep run as well, John. One of Jarrell's favorite teams last year we got to bring up here because they've got a lot of pieces back, and that's South Aiken, the Thoroughbreds. You know, one of the best backfields in the state with Terrence Smith, the UConn commit, and Javon Edwards at running back. Those guys are just electric back there. You know, they got to replace for a couple guys on O-line. Got to get that worked out. But the defense, that was their problem last year. Similar to Westside, couldn't stop anybody. They should be improved this year. They had a lot of young guys, a lot of sophomores playing last year. Obviously, they're a year older. I think the Thoroughbreds can make a big run in that region that has kind of been owned by North Augusta, you could say, the past couple of years.
Yeah,
North Augusta, another team with a coaching change. I think South Aiken has a chance to win that region, get some home games there. And they're a team that nobody wants to play just because of the way Smith and Edwards can kind of really just go on offense.
Yeah, they're going to be fun to watch, and they're going to have the talent. They're going to have the ability to get there. Just, hey, it's easy to say that. Can you do it?
Yeah.
Can you do it on Friday night?
Yeah, a couple more teams I want to highlight. Airport, excited to see what Coach Fiddler can do there with those guys. I think they're a year or two away from being a really big-time contender, but he's doing a great job changing the culture there. Bluffton, Super 75 player safety, Jeremiah Curry, really, really talented there. Year 2 of their new head coach, I believe it's Gregory is his name. They're building some special. They had a nice team last year, made some quality strides there. Irma, an honorable mention team. One of the better quarterbacks in the state, a young guy, AJ Brand, coach's son, I believe already has an offer from South Carolina. So what can they do around him? They get Jaden Allen Hendricks to Gilbert transfer in to run the ball. What do they got beside those two guys? We shall see. But they'll be a fun team to follow for sure. Another team, 2 out of that region, actually, I want to mention, Myrtle Beach and Wilson. Wilson, Jaron Waiters at receiver, an ECU commit, really good player there for Coach Mooney. And then Bryson Scott, a Trinity Collegiate transfer, going to play some DB, some receiver. He's electric. He's a big-time playback for the Tigers. They're a team that, in that region, I think they finished probably 3rd or 4th last year, but they played a lot of tough games. I remember they had Dillon on the ropes for a while. They played tough against some of the big 4A schools, in that region as well. I think they're a team that could take a step forward for sure if they can figure out the quarterback spot a little bit. And then Myrtle Beach, a team that, 2 years ago, I believe, lost the lower state final to Beaufort. Last year was preseason number 2. Did not have a standard Myrtle Beach season. They did not. They just really didn't. They couldn't get it going. They had some injuries up front and injuries at quarterback. They could never get it figured out. But Malachi Washington, a really good running back. He's back, a Super 75 guy. He's a stud there for them. And they're not going to be that bad 2 years ago. I just can't think they will be at Myrtle Beach. They've got too much history, too much talent there. They will be a contender, I think, in that region. I think Myrtle Beach is a team to look out for as well.
Yeah, they need to ride that momentum that they had toward the end of the season in the playoffs. But, we said this before, the biggest, I think, hurdle to me for the Seahawks is that region they're in.
Yeah.
You're not going to have any breaks.
Yep.
And we talk about the team that's, and again, no offense to North Myrtle Beach, no offense to the Chiefs, we expect them to be pretty good. That to be your, least, your most gettable game in your region.
Yeah.
Well, that's your rivalry game.
Yeah.
There's going to be a ton of juice in that game. Myrtle Beach has got it's going to be tough in region play. They might be very, very good this year.
Yeah.
They could be very good, but still be the 3rd best team or 4th best team in that region.
Yeah.
But hey, if you can just get into the playoffs.
Yep.
Get into the playoffs, cut your teeth on that tough region. They got Camden right out the gate. That's going to be a tough game
at home.
They'll be ready once playoffs come around. The tough part for Myrtle Beach, get in the playoffs.
Yeah.
If you get in the playoffs, things will maybe ease up a little bit.
Yeah, there you go. They're used to that, right?
Yeah.
So 3 more I do want to highlight before we move on. These are 3, teams that have really good tradition, won a lot of ball games last couple of years. One's Greenwood, a team that is usually perennial top 5 or so, have been, I wouldn't say necessarily down, but haven't had the type of Greenwood seasons they expect the last couple of years. Caleb Burton is back there. Love Deterius Gary kind of stepping in for V. Morton there, one of our players of the week at one point last year. This is a team that, it's always tough to play them because of that offensive style they run. You just don't see that a ton at the higher levels, kind of that, whatever wing tee, wishbone, triple out, whatever you want to call it. That's what they run there. So they'll be a tough out as always, and they'll go as far, I think, as they can kind of get it figured out on offense. That's what it is. If they can control the clock, they can beat anybody. If they can't get first downs and they have to get off the field, they're not going to have a lot of success. So that's a team there. North Augusta, new coach Richard Bush coming in for Matt Quinn there. He's been on staff for a long time. I really like the young quarterback, Corey Tillman. He's going to be a player for him for a couple. I think he's a 25. He's a big time player. Then Evan Walder at tight end. And then this last team, John, a team that has been a contender since they've been a school, basically, but a team that I don't know a ton about right now because they lost a lot. They lost a quarterback. They lost a running back. Lost their 3 stud receivers. That's Ridgeview, the Blazers. Also lost offensive coordinator Stephen Burris to Lamar, head coach there now. They do have a quarterback, Braylon Boyd, back, who played some early in the year for them. It's hard to not expect them to do good just because we know what they've usually got, athlete-wise out there. But I just don't know a lot about them at this time.
Yeah, and, again, big question marks. I'm really not sure. I'm not sure. I would expect the Blazers to play pretty good defense.
Yeah.
But we're just not going to know. And that's, it's okay. I think it's okay. I think we can say, hey, we don't know. We don't know. And I don't know if, hey, Ridgeview, they know.
Yeah.
They got a good idea. They, getting practice started off, I think, last week, fall practice started. So they probably got a good idea, or they're getting a good idea here now. But they might be the only ones to know. Once Friday night rolls around, we'll see what they've got. I also want to mention, before we get done with 4A here, I think we need to mention Greer, if for nothing else, running back LaDainian Martin.
Yeah, he's a
very,
stud.
very good player.
He's a stud. I think he's a junior. Also, the receiver Chase Bird, big time player as well, a good athlete for there. If they can figure out the quarterback spot, this is a team that also has a lot of tradition, but has not been as good as they would like to be the last couple of years, I would say, John. But always a great place to watch a game there under the water tower there, and hopefully they get it figured out. Coach Young's been there, forever. It feels like he's a great coach. And they've got the talent. Can they put it together and win some ball games? They got Daniel week 0. We'll find out pretty quickly what they've got, I would think. But yeah, a team that you got to mention for sure in 4A always. But Drill, any comments from the Facebook or the YouTube that we need to talk about? Any teams on there? Or do you want to hop in here with your thoughts on anything, or what you got for as far as 4A goes?
Yeah, not too much in the comment side of things. I was putting them up as we saw, but just with 4A, you guys did a great job covering that stuff, man. It's like Northwestern. Can they stay healthy? They should be able to put it all together. The question, Greenville, can they break that proverbial glass ceiling there? South Florence, how do they rebound after, losing such a star player? Is that a program or was that a team? That's the question for them this year. South Point, they had a little bit down year by their standards. What are they going to be able to accomplish this year? And then James Island, that's probably the most, that's my new darling team for the year. I gotta put South Aiken on the back burner a little bit.
No. They're going to score 45 the first week, and you're going to love them again, Joe. Don't give me that.
New year, new team.
The problem is they give up 46.
Nah, not this year. It's changed. It's changed.
Don't matter. You outscore them.
But yeah, it'll awesome to see. But we'll move on. You guys covered most of the teams here. Let's move on. I need some championship predictions.
I do have one more that we did not mention that deserves to be mentioned because they won a state title a couple years ago. Went to the lower state final last year. AC Flora. Coach Floyd, year 2 there for them. They lose a lot on offense. Carew Bates is gone. Chris Lofton is gone. Markel Townsend, really good running back, is gone. I think this year, from what I've seen from Coach Floyd and a couple other guys talking about that team, have to rely on the defense a good bit early in the year at least until they figure out some offensive pieces. But I think they're a team that has earned the respect and earned, the right to be considered a contender for sure in 4A.
Yeah, for sure. And for that region that they're in, that Region 5, the Falcons are going to be the team to beat. But I think this is the year Irmo can take that pedestal away from them.
Yeah.
That Irmo AC Florida game is going to be a really, really big time game for Region 5 this year. I'm really looking forward to that one.
I'll tell you, I'm going to make my state title picks right here. I think I'm ready to roll. I'm going to take Northwestern.
Okay.
And you're going to love this, guys. Hartsville. Northwestern Hartsville is who I like in Orangeburg in 4A.
Okay.
Solid.
Okay. I like Northwestern too. I like the Trojans. I think they've got too much talent, and they do a great job from the coaching staff getting those kids prepared and ready. I think, man, I'm not going to take Jarrell's thunder. I'm not going to steal it. I'm going to say they're going to beat West Florence.
Ooh, so like Coach Unit squad making a deep run.
Yeah, you know what I'm going with then. Northwestern clean sweep in the upper state. I just think they're too much or just too talented. I think that's going to be the game that we're going to before state championships, though, is Northwestern Greenville. I think both of those teams advance there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to go James Island, man. Protect the island, PTI, Coach McCoy, what he's got going on down there. Those boys are rolling. Can they put it all together? He mentioned it. They tasted a lot of success last year. Can they build upon that? But before we end it, I got to give a shout out to down there, Lucy Beckham. They had a heck of a season last year.
Great call.
Coach Smith and that defense. Let's see how they progress as they build that program down there. That's another team to keep an eye out for in the Low Country.
Yeah, that was a team, first year playing varsity last year. People didn't expect a lot from them. I think they won 8 ball games. They were really good. So they were fun to watch. I think also, Jarrell, in that region, is that not May River correct as well?
Yeah, I think May River's also in that region. So, yeah,
Coach Bonneville is, new head coach there. Been around the program, been around football in the state a long time, coach for state titles, won state titles. They'll be a fun team to watch as well. May River will be. But, yeah, let's get a shout out to our friends here, and then we'll roll into the the big boys, the 5A ranks, what used to be the Big 16, I guess. Part of it would have been.
Well, they were half 4A, and then you got the Big 16.
But anyway, Dre, let's give a shout out, and then we'll get into the 5A.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
Carolina Orthopedic and Neurosurgical Associates, KONA, offers the most advanced training and experience in orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, sports medicine, and pain management in the upstate. 3 convenient locations in Spartanburg, Duncan, and Greenville. Go to kona.care to learn more.
Yeah, so before we hop into 5A, like I always say, you guys can obviously, if you missed part of the show, maybe you're hopping in now and you missed 3A, you missed 4A, whatever, you can watch it when we get done here. The show will live forever on our Facebook and our YouTube pages. It's on our podcast as well, Apple, Google, Spotify. You can watch it in there and kind of check out what you want to see from your favorite teams. We did, 1A, 2A skis on Monday. Those shows are also on there. But, John, let's look at 5A, the big boys now. Another deep class, but obviously we know who number 1 is going to be in the preseason poll at least.
Yeah, unanimous, getting all 15 votes for number 1 is the Dutch Fork Silver Foxes. It's deserved. I know there's some fan bases that will debate that, and that's okay. But Dutch Fork deserves it. They deserve that top spot for sure. Number 2, the Gaffney Indians, and number 3. I think this is exciting.
Yeah,
I love this. Number 3, Somerville.
Yeah, need them to be good again.
Fort Dorchester, number 4, Burns at 5, Sumter at 6. You have TL Hanna at 7, Spartanburg at 8, Lexington 9, Dorman at 10, a little surprising to me. And then others receiving votes, Blythewood, Hillcrest receiving votes. That's it. And JL Mann.
Yeah, we'll start at the top. Dutch Fork. They do replace a lot. New quarterback, new running back. They got John Hunt taking over at quarterback there. They do have receiver Jacob Hamilton back. He's a really good player. And then a couple guys on defense I like. The Wells kid, and then linebacker Tyler Jones. He's a stud. Coach Tom Knotts, I saw him talking last week. He said the defense is really good, really formidable. Got to have these offensive guys come along a little bit. But, it's going to be crazy, John. I mean, these guys play such a tough schedule. Like, it's going to be tough to really get a feel for them, because they may lose 1 or 2 games early just because of who they're playing. They play Colquitt County, a super, super good high school out of Georgia, I think week 0. A couple other big games coming up, but they will be there at the end. They're going to be loaded again, and the offense will continue to get better and better. I think they're going to throw it a little bit more this year than they did last year. They don't have Jarvis Green anymore, but the Silver Foxes are going to be a tough out no matter what.
Yeah, we touched on this a little bit last year, and I want to bring it up again too. We don't talk about that defense enough.
Yeah.
That defense, they've had great talent offensively. Jalen Hyatt a couple years ago, we see him now in the NFL. He's going to be playing on Sundays. But that defense has been really, really good. We saw, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, we were at Nixon Field, saw them play Burns.
Yep.
And that was a game that was pretty competitive in the first half. And then that second half, offensively, Dutch Fork defensively just suffocated Burns, would not let them do anything. That defense is really, really impressive for Silver Foxes. And hey, as good as you are, you got to be good everywhere.
Yep.
You got to be good everywhere, and they certainly are.
Number 2, the Gaffney Indians, also a perennial title contender. The big story in the offseason, obviously, is new quarterback, Riley Staten, coming over from Gray Collegiate. Really good player there. He's had a lot of snaps under his belt. He spent time playing QB the last 2 years for Gray and he can really sling it there for those guys. Love the running backs, Jay McDowell and Quay Tate. Both the young kids are back. They were really good last year. Wide receivers amazing. Littlejohn, Drew Medley. They did lose some big pieces on defense, guys like Brayshawn Littlejohn, guys like Nathan Johnson, Caliber Hoey as well. But they do have back Cook and Putnam, two just absolute studs there on that side of the ball. And you think about Gaffney, John, they're always going to be tough on defense. They're always going to have big guys, big, strong guys. Offensive line, Shedrick Surratt, man-child, he's a stud. Gaffney is for real this year, John. They are locked and loaded. They are ready for a shot at Dutch Fork. And it looks like, if I'm reading this correctly, it hadn't been for sure, but with Dutch Forks region, if they win it this year, the winner will go to the lower state, while last year the winner went to the upper state. So we could see a potential Gaffney Dutch Fork state title rematch if both teams handle business, but long way away before we get to that, John.
And there's a lot of good teams in the way as well. I want to talk about Somerville here.
Yeah.
Somerville, a team that had they kind of came back on the scene last year, had a really good season. They are going to be that's going to be really exciting to watch, because that's a fan base, that's a school that is just starving to be really good again. And they got a little glimpse of it last year. And I'm sure they don't put a whole lot of weight into what these rankings are, and probably not to what we're saying either, but they got to know, hey, this is our chance to really make some moves and to kind of replace Fort Dorchester as the team there in the Low Country. It's going to be really interesting to watch the Low Country and see how good Somerville is. Fort Dorchester, talk about those guys. They're replacing a lot, having to replace quarterback Zoltan Osborne. What they can do to do that. They had to do it a little bit last year. Did a good job with it last year. Low Country is going to be a lot of fun to watch now too.
It is certainly will be. Patrick says Road to Orangeburg starts now. That's right. Zach says, remember Somerville being good with AJ Green. Yeah. It's great to have them back. Coach Rafferty is an alum of Somerville. Great to have him doing, really putting some time into that program, making it good again. Back to where we think about Somerville back in the day. Yannick Smith, wide receiver, an ECU commit, one of the better athletes in the state. People kind of don't know about him because he plays in the Low Country area. He is a really, really good star for those guys. Super 75 player for us as well. Quarterback Jaden Cummings coming from Hanahan, but I've heard they may be kind of rotating a couple guys right now, figuring out the quarterback spot. We'll see how that turns out for them. Defense returns a lot of talent. They're going to be really good in the lower state, John. And you mentioned Fort Dorchester, a team that had a lot of turmoil this offseason. Obviously they lose Zoltan Osborne, of course, at quarterback, graduates, moves on there. But then Coach LaPrade, he's the head coach. He gets relieved of head coaching duties. He gets reassigned as the head coach again. Then he retires. Just don't, that program has been through a lot. Those kids have really there for Fort D. I think they made a good call having a guy from on staff, Josh Smith, kind of take over that role, because just you need some stability there, really, at least for this year. Former Clemson Tiger Coach Smith is there. But they've got some talent. I really like Davian Brown at running back. Had a big year last year. He's a stud. Multi-Snyder receiver is a freak as well. He's a good player. Like you said, the lower state has kind of been Fort D's, kind of that Low Country area the last couple of years. But I think Somerville makes a real push to take over that crown this year.
Now let's bounce back to the upstate. And this is a team that I didn't put a whole lot of weight into last season, and they played a lot better than I expected them to. And I think coming into this season, they've got as much talent as anybody in the state, especially in the offensive side of the football. What do you think about the Burns Rebels? How far do you think they can go this year?
A team, talk about turmoil. We don't know all the ins and outs of them, but I heard there were some transfers coming in. They left, transfers going out. They're back now. Who really knows? But I know if everybody is there for them, they are very talented. They got to replace Colby Shaw at quarterback. Andrew Stevens looks to fill that role. He played well when he got some snaps last year. But you mentioned their athletes. Armani Weaver, Camarius Bomar, even Zay Landrum at wide receiver. Those are three really, really good athletes. And those guys will play some DB as well for them because they're studs there. Running back RJ Livingston had a huge year last year. He was really fun to watch as a young kid, kind of how he grew up. I think Burns is back, and they're going to have a good season. Coach Shaw does a great job there with those guys. The question 2 years ago, John, they scored so many points. They couldn't stop anybody. Last year, the defense was a little bit better. Made a deep run. Knocked off 2 number 1 seeds in the playoffs on the road before losing to Gaffney. I think Coach Shaw has these guys ready for a deep run as well. The problem is, like I mentioned earlier in 4A, with some of those teams, the region these guys play in is Murderer's Row. I mean, that region with Gaffney, Burns, Spartanburg, Boiling Springs, Dorman, I mean, it's a shame somebody has to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But when you're Burns and you got that kind of talent, I don't think they're looking at it that way.
Yeah,
I think
they're
looking at it as, hey, we can flex on everybody, and especially when they get the home games at Nixon Field. Or certainly, we talk about how great atmosphere is at the 1, 2, 3A schools. It Burns at 5, for a 5A school. They really have a good atmosphere too. It's a tough place to play, tough place to win. They're a team that I'm putting a star by Burns to see, because I think they can do it. But can it all come together? And it came together at the right time last year during the playoffs.
Yeah.
Can they do that again? Can they get in that position again? We'll see.
I'll tell you what, I'm so excited for our preview show next week. We have just got loaded matchups. They play Huff High School on Saturday up in Charlotte. So that'll be a fun matchup too there, kind of a cross-state game there between those two, John. But let's stay in that region. Talk a little Spartanburg. This is a team that I feel like lost a lot. Raheem Jeter, Mr. Football finalist, he graduated. He's at ECU now. Andrew Danton, a Shrine Bowler, he's gone. Rakeith Kelly, the running back, he's gone. So they lost a lot of pieces, but Coach Hodge is really high on this team. Everything I've heard, he has been really talking them up. He's really excited about it. That quarterback TJ Johnson, a dual threat guy there. Justin Rice at receiver is an athletic playmaker for those guys. A team that I'm excited to see in week 0 as well. They've got a big matchup against South Point there, but a team that, like I said, I feel like I don't know a ton of names really because they graduated a lot. But from people I'm talking to, people who are talking about this team, I think they could be pretty dang good this year.
Yeah, and I was high on Spartanburg last year, and I'm really high on Coach Hodge. That's why I really like the Vikings. I think that he was a great hire when they hired him. Maybe 2 years ago? I think now.
I believe this is his third year. I think it's his third year, I believe.
Season, so 3 years ago. Really believe in Coach Hodge, and the fact that he says that he really likes his team. That's not something I really take with a grain of salt. I take that to be pretty truthful. And you talk about the bad part about being in that region. You're gonna get roughed up a little bit, and it's a tough region to win. You got tough games week in, week out. But again, what really matters, what really counts, is when you get into the playoffs.
Yep.
And you cut your teeth against that good competition. That gives you so much more of gives you more confidence. And you're talking about 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, man, confidence, momentum, that can go a long, long way. So if they can play well going into that stretch run, get into the playoffs, get a good seeding, I really like the Vikings to make some noise.
Yeah, I saw Zach's comment on him at Chapman. He had won multiple state titles. He's done a great job. Also did a good job at Carolina High School in Greenville, a program that has had a lot of trouble there, but he did a great job. But Alan McCray says, how does Spring Valley going to look? Man, I'm excited about Coach Pearson. I don't know if you saw our interview with Coach Pearson that we did, Alan, this offseason, but go check it out. It's on our Facebook and YouTube page. He was super fun to talk to. He really gets it. A South Carolina guy, grew up in Darlington, played at SC State. Super fun to talk some football and some food with him as well. Had a great barbecue discussion with Coach Pearson there. But that's a team that I like their defense a lot. Devin Crumpton, one of our Super 75 guys, he's a stud there. Not sure what they're doing offense. They got to figure that out a little bit, I feel like. But they're a team that, we expect them to be a contender, certainly to make the playoffs in that region that they're in. But, we'll see how far they can go. But I think they've got a chance, to maybe be second, maybe even win that region. We'll see how that goes. But I think Spring Valley is in for a good season under Coach Pearson here in year 1.
Yeah, that is a region where, and it's not weak. By no means is it a weak region, but I think the top half of that region, you get Spring Valley, Clover, Blythewood. I think they're all three very comparable. And if you can put it together for those games and win that region, that's big time. That's big time going to play. And I think they got a shot. The Spring Valley is another team. And to me, there's a lot of question marks, but the ceiling, it's pretty high for the Vikings.
Let's stay in that region for a second. Rock Hill, a team that it's hard to say, because growing up, John, Rock Hill was a really, really good program. They've not been really good the last several years. They really haven't. But they've got one of the better quarterbacks in state, Matthew Wilson, an App State commit. He's a really good dual threat guy. Interesting to see how far he can carry them this year. Last year's region winner, Blythewood, they've got some talent. They've got a new coach, Coach Martin, taking over there for those guys. But quarterback Harrison Collins is a big-time playmaker. And how about this guy? He was a Super 75 guy for us. Defensive lineman Edward Robinson, John. They played, I think it was 12 games last year, 25 sacks. That's unheard of in high school football. That's a nut season for Edward. He's back again. We'll do something similar, I feel like. So Coach Martin has a good squad there. But the team I like to watch in that region, Clover. New head coach, Perry Woolbright, coming over from Lexington, an alum of Clover. His dad coached at Clover. Quarterback Jalen Hoover is really good there for them. They do lose a couple pieces. I saw, Dion Brown transferring to Louisville from Clover. They lose him. They do have some other pieces outside of it as well. His Coach Wilbright's son playing the DB spot, Braden there. He's a good player. I think Clover under Perry Wilbright's offense, they can make some noise. And I think that region is really, really fun with Blythewood, Rock Hill, Clover, and Spring Valley kind of competing for that 1, 2, 3 spots. And yes, Zach, 25 sacks last year for Edward Robinson. Huge season for him.
That's Edward Robinson, an individual, not Edward Robinson High School, because that wouldn't be a bad number for school for the season either. And I think you're right with Clover. I think really that's probably, and tell me if you disagree, that's probably their region to lose this year. Again, not that they are miles ahead of Spring Valley, Blythewood in that region, but if they do what they're capable of, losing Brown is big.
Yeah.
If they had Deion Brown, I'd say, hey, Clover, definitely a team to beat in this region. Look out come late fall. But losing him is going to be tough, and we'll see how they can replace that. But they got a lot of time.
Yeah.
They got time to do it.
For sure. I got some more to talk about. You want to go upstate or lower state next, or Midlands? What do you want to do?
Let's go lower state.
Lower state. A team in the lower state that has been a contender every year, Sumter, the Gamecocks. Coach Barnes there always has a really good squad. They lost some talent on defense, and usually, you think of Sumter, you think of, all right, strong defense, really good D-line typically as well. It feels like offense may struggle a little bit, but they got some pieces back on offense this year. They've got running back John Peoples is back, quarterback Peyton Marchant is back as well. So they've got some good talent on offense. The defense will be stout. It always is. Just can they score enough to win some big-time ball games? And I think with this squad, I think they can for Coach Barnes this year.
I think a big question for Sumter, I think we'll find out pretty early how much that, and I don't know, I don't have the schedule right in front of me. I don't know who they play out of region, but I think we'll find out pretty quick how much that offense has improved, or how good they are pretty early on, because that's going to be, for the Gamecocks, that's going to be where they go. If that offense can play, if they can score some points, that's going to be the driving factor. Last year, Somerville knocked them out of the playoffs, a 7-0 ball game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Score. They got to be able to score. And Somerville, hey, a lot of people have a tough time scoring against Somerville, especially late in the year. But yeah, for Sumter, it's gonna revolve around how good that offense can improve from last season to this season.
Yeah, sticking in the lower state, kind of low country area now. West Ashley, a team under Coach Kiefer, former state title winner at Green Sea Floyd's. Really good defense, similar to Sumter. Couldn't score much last year. Can they get it done this year? We don't know. We shall see. Do want to mention Cane Bay. The Cobras have had a really impressive summer. And even, spring so far. They're a team to look out for there. And then Ashley Ridge. This is a team that has really been on the rise under Coach Fiddler, who is now at Airport. They go out and make a home run hire. Jeff Tate from Wren. He won state title there, I think, in 2019 with Wren. He retired after this past offseason. He gets hired to Ashley Ridge. Did not see that coming at all. And they've got some studs like Derek Sally Jr. out wide. That program is building something as well. I think the low country could be as competitive as we have seen it, John, in the past couple of years for sure.
Yeah, Ashley Ridge talked about they had a first round exit last year in the playoffs, but last few years they were making some runs.
Mm-hmm.
They can do it, and I agree with you. They're certainly a team to watch down the low country too. There's
one more down there that I want to mention that I think could be. I don't know if this is their year or if it might be next year. But I got a feeling they might be sneaky good this year, and that's Berkeley, the Stags.
Ooh, I thought you were going to say somebody else.
Coach Lodge coming over from coming up from Florida, from Seminole High School there. We had a chance to talk to him a couple weeks back. He is a super impressive guy, really gets it there. They've got Jove Rouse, some other players. They're working on getting that strength program like they want it to be. He's obviously a completely different style from what they had before they had. I think they were still running some option stuff there, whatnot, some wing tee stuff. He's going to spread it out now. He's got a freshman quarterback, Henry Rivers. Remember that name, John? I think I saw a video of him a week or two ago throwing the ball 70 yards as a freshman. This kid is going to be a playmaker for them. I think he's going to get a lot of time for them this year. Berkeley is a team that I think people will overlook early in the year, but if they can hold up, depth-wise and physically, they can win a lot of ball games, I think, in year one for Coach Lodge.
Now, before we leave Low Country, PD, Grand Strand area, what are your thoughts on Carolina Forest? They are a team that always seem to be right there.
Yep.
They've had a really good offense lately. I'm not sure what they bring back if they can. I know they have a really good quarterback. I'm not sure if he graduated last year. He did. So that'll be tough to replace. But Carolina Forest, they're a team that we just don't talk about a ton.
Yeah.
But come November, they're there.
For sure. Coach Morris has a great staff there, great offensive game plan. They lose, like you said, Scott Saylor, really good player last year. And their running back, Zion Gilbert, now at West Florence. You hate to lose both those key pieces there. But they're a team that scheme they run on offense can always put up points, it feels like. It's the same type of deal as some of the other guys, just kind of maybe a reverse Sumter, a reverse Somerville. It's more about can you stop anybody? You're going to score points. Can you stop anybody there, I think, for Carolina Forest. But another team that could be lower state, could be upper state, depending on how that region goes. Lexington, the Wildcats. New coach Dustin Curtis coming over from Dorman, an alum of Lexington there. Quarterback Taden Mines is back. He's a very seasoned quarterback, really a good player, understands the offense, understands games, makes good decisions. He's a good player for them. Linebacker Christian Sexton, one of our Super 75. He was one of our players of the week last year as well. The problem for those guys, that region is getting better as well. For a while it was always Dutch Fork. River Bluff's getting better. Lexington's getting better. And a team that I do want to mention as well, John, White Knoll. They have a lot of offensive firepower. Landon Sharpie at quarterback can sling it all around. They do a great job there under Coach Pelham. That's a program on the rise. They're going to score a lot of points as well. So, you got to figure out, I guess, you don't play for a certain spot in that region, but you think about, do I want to be 2 and go upper state? Do I want to be 3 and go lower state? What do I want to do? But always fun to see how that works out. Lexington and White Knoll are teams to watch this year, I feel like, in 5A.
And in that region, too, River Bluff, good quarterback play.
Yeah.
With River Bluff.
Yeah, Parker Murray back. Stephen Collier out wide's a good player for them as well.
Yeah, I like that River Bluff too. That's a really good region. And they don't get, and I think we do a pretty good job. I like to think we do a pretty good job of giving the rest of that region respect, because most people think, oh, Dutch Fork, everybody else, whatever. No, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. And I agree with you. It's getting better. Yeah.
Let's flip back to the upstate. A couple more teams. And one that you mentioned earlier, I think they were 10th in the poll, Dorman. Usually you're talking 5A, it doesn't take this long to get to those guys, but new head coach Jake Morris there, and also an alum of Dorman. Another team we don't know a lot about. They lost their quarterback, lost their running back, lost a lot of their linemen up front, lost DJ Porter out wide. Got a quarterback transfer coming in, Riley Scruggs from Georgia. I've heard some good things about him. Not sure who's going to be around him to say, but Dorman is a program that kind of has earned that respect. You think they're going to be a contender for sure as well?
Yeah, and Dorman is one of those. You don't expect Dorman to be bad.
Yeah,
but there are just so many question marks where I don't, and I'd like to hear the closed door discussions about this 5A poll on what the media said about Dorman.
Yeah,
where how they put him there, because to me, hey, that guess is as good as mine, because again, Dorman, huge school, huge support. They're going to have players, they're going to have talent. Just how good is it? And especially in that region. That tough region. Again, they could be good. They could be the third best team in that region. They could be the fourth best team. It could be hey, we got really, really bad to make the playoffs. So we'll see.
Yeah, this is a team I want to mention here, John, that was honorable mention, and I think they should probably be higher than that. I was surprised when I saw their ranking, and that's the Hillcrest Rams. They did lose a lot, obviously. Head coach Anthony Freight now at Wren, quarterback Bennett Judy now at Western Carolina, Logan Coldren now at Limestone. Some other players, obviously have moved on from the program, Jalen Neal and those guys as well. But they bring in a lot of really good talent as well. Head coach Bennett Swiger, everybody in South Carolina, I feel like, knows his name. Grew up in the Low Country down there, played at Somerville, played at South Carolina, ended up playing at Western, worked at SC State and Newberry, of course. Really smart guy, really gets it there. We interviewed him to go check that out as well. But I like the quarterback they got, John. You mentioned him earlier. Transfer from Easley, Caleb Sutton. We say dual threat, and people are like, oh, maybe moves around. This guy's electric. He is a stud at the quarterback spot. Caleb Sutton, really good there for them. I like the running back Thomas Stanley, a guy who, was behind Coldren the past couple years, but got a lot of playing time and really was impressive when he did carry the ball. I felt like But then one of my favorite players in the upstate is out wide, John. Maybe not the upstate, the whole state. I'll just say it. Avery McFadden. We talk about it. We talk about explosive, talk about electric. This is the guy. I mean, he is a Super 75, guy for us. Really, really talented out wide, talented in the receiving game, getting some runs as well, some in-around stuff like that. And really in the return game is where he's super dangerous as well.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. For those of you in the Midlands, if you got to see Lofton at AC Floor play, how electric and dynamic he was. He was one of my favorite players in the state last couple of years.
Yeah.
As electric as he is on a punt and kick return, that's Avery McFadden for Hillcrest in the upstate.
Yeah.
McFadden, I think a little bit bigger, but gosh,
yeah.
he finds that hole. He's fast. He's tough. He is certainly one of the most fun players in the state to watch.
Yeah, they've got Grant Holiday back as well. Tyson Moses is a guy on defense I like a ton. They'll be a fun team to follow this year. Like I said, that they lose some key pieces. May take them a while to kind of gel together, but I think they're a team that I think has a really chance to win that region. I think the other competitor is that going to be this team now, and that's TL Hanna, a team that is there year in, year out. They lose a lot of pieces. They don't have a lot of names right now running the ball. They got Pino, Burton, Bowles, and Donald kind of in that that three-headed monster there for that wing T triple option they're going to run. But, Coach Tone does a great job because that offense is so tough to prepare for. It really is. You don't see it much at the upper levels anymore. They're going to be a tough out. And I think that region will probably come down to that Hillcrest TL Hanna game again this year.
Yeah, for TL Hanna, it comes down to quarterback play. Can he make it's same for Greenwood. We talked about Greenwood, earlier in the 4A. Can that quarterback, can he really pull the strings on when to pitch, when to keep it, ducking in, being able to see those gaps, that's really where for TL Hanna, I think, dictates how far they go this season. And for Hillcrest is one of the most interesting teams, I think, coming in this year because, gosh, they lose a great head coach and Coach Frey. Mm-hmm. But then you talk about hires across the state. With 5A, Coach Swiggert's got to be arguably your best hire in 5A.
Yeah, he's one of for sure.
You gotta love that. You gotta love they've got a quarterback now with Sutton, McFadden, Mr. Do Everything. They're going to be really fun to watch. Ton of question marks, but a ton of really big positives coming in that program or for that program this year too.
Yeah, great. Point by Zach there. They had a player pass away this week. TL Hanna did, so that kind of adds some extra, motivation for those guys. And hate to hear that. Definitely praying for the program and everything in the family. So hopefully they can kind of rally together for that, John. But one more team I do want to mention. This is a team that most of you guys probably think, why the hell has kept bringing these guys up? That's JL Man.
Okay.
Coach Scoot Watson there is building something pretty good. They had some good success early in the year, kind of tailed off at the end. But they bring a lot of talent back. Ethan Anderson, the quarterback, is back. Super 75 guy for us. And then, kind of a human joystick, almost like a Dante Hall, Tyreek Hill type guy. Mikael McClellan at receiver. Really fun to watch. Really fun in space, especially. He's a big-time playmaker out wide for those guys. So I think JL Man, if they can have the defense step up, they can make some noise this year in 5A as well.
Yeah, they were a program last year where, one or two games, oh, boy, better look out for JL Man. And then they'd have a bad game the next game. Then, a couple weeks later, they come back and have a really, really impressive game. Ethan Anderson, one of the best quarterbacks probably in the upper state, maybe even state, statewide. Very good, talented player, experience under his belt, coming back again. JL Man's going to be an interesting one to watch. It's very crowded at the top once you get north of that 85 line.
For sure. Drell, any comments in the chat we need to discuss? Zach, JL Man's quarterback. Yeah. Ethan Anderson's a stud for sure. Any other comments? Anybody want to know about any certain teams? Leonard, good to have you in here, man. Gaffney is going to be a problem this year for sure, as they always are.
Again.
Drell, what do you highlight?
Threw most of the comments up as they came in.
Perfect.
Same thing with you guys, man. Dutch Fork, that's where it starts. And anybody that disagrees with that, I'll meet him in the Wachovia parking lot. So it is what it is. Just Dutch Fork, we start there. But yeah, I think the poll's great. I think Hanna's a team that's kind of slept just because of that system. Man, that system is so hard to prepare for. And we watched it, man. You had them play Hillcrest for that region championship last year. Hillcrest was as dynamic as anybody. And we talk about the Hannah offense. That defense shut those guys out. They were opportunistic and they made no mistakes. And I think that's just a testament to that program. But I'm with you guys too. I'm on the jail bandwagon. That's my team. I like those guys. McClellan's one of my favorite players. Anderson can sling it. Coach Watson's got those boys playing. Can we get somebody in Greenville County that can get it done at the 5A level? That'd be nice. So I think those are the guys. But who do y'all have? State championship predictions. Need to hear them.
Man, so I'm going to operate under the assumption that Dutch Fork wins that region and that winner is going to Lower State this year. That's how I'm going to operate. I'm going to say Dutch Fork out of the Lower State. Okay. And the Upper State's where it gets really fun, man. You could pick anybody out of that, big region 2 right there, John, I feel like, out of those guys. But I'm going to take Gaffney. I like what they've done. We were worried about who replaces Grayson Loftus. What do you do? Riley Staten comes in, a stud at quarterback. They will be, right there at the end. I think we see a Gaffney Dutch Fork rematch of 2 years ago down in Orangeburg this time.
I apologize for being boring, but I agree. I think we see if Dutch Fork goes to that lower state region or lower state side of the bracket, I think they come out of there, face Gaffney. But I think I'll come back a step so we can have a little bit of fun. I think Gaffney knocks off Hillcrest for that Upper State championship, and I think that could be a really electric ball game.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. You look back in the Upper State. I mean, there's, let's see, 1, 2. I could consider picking 4 or 5 teams to win the Upper State. I feel like Burns, Spartanburg with Coach Hodge, what he said about this team. Even a guy like I said, Hillcrest, John, they're going to have a good season. And then I think, you could pick somebody out of that kind of Midlands region as well, maybe a Clover to get hot, maybe a Blythewood to get hot, whatever. But it's a lot of teams that could do it. It should be a lot of fun. Lower State, Dutch Fork, hard not to pick them. Love Somerville, man. That's a good team if they can just score a few points. That is what worries me about those guys. But the team that may be flying under the radar in the Lower State, I know they're ranked high in the poll. That's Fort Dorchester. I feel like we're not talking a lot about them. Didn't have a lot to say. But maybe they kind of rally around, the turmoil they had, and they kind of really moved to have a big season for Coach Smith and things like that. But I don't know what to make of those guys, but they've got talent. We know they do. So it'll be a lot of fun in 5A in Upper and Lower State to follow this year.
I like my other team in the Lower State to watch out for, I think, is Sumter.
Yeah.
I think Sumter's been very, very close. And I think they probably lose more going into this year than they have last few years. Because you talk about the defensive line, they lose some, but boy, they have been reloading. I don't know if they have that this year. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think that might work out in their favor where there's not just this big focus on, Sumter. It's just their defensive line. So maybe that's wishful thinking, but I think that Lower State's going to be really fun to watch though too, between Somerville, Fort D, Sumter, and then you throw in one of those other Midland teams. Maybe you get Blythewood in there. Maybe you get Clover mixing it up a little bit. It's going to be fun too.
Yeah, no, it's a clean sweep, man. I think it's the same. I think it's Dutch Fork and Gaffney, boring, whatever. I think those are the 2 best teams. I think where it ends up. And, we keep going back to 2 years for the state championship. I mean, they played a knockdown drag out last year for the Upper State championship as well.
They did.
So, yeah, and I've never seen a stadium packed like the reservation was for that football game. So that was an electric environment. But, yeah, I think you guys are perfectly right in those sentiments. There's some really good teams here, and it's going to be fun to keep up with.
I'm very worried by the fact that we all 3 picked the same. That really worries me. That really worries me, guys.
Yeah,
I'm okay if we're wrong.
Yeah, I'm fine. Like if I get executed for that's perfectly fine. But I think it's a good point too that you guys made up. That region with Dutch Fork, somebody's gonna have to play some really tough teams. Like the Upper State's not hard enough already with the Spartanburg schools. The Greenville schools doing a little bit better there. You're going to get one of those teams from the Midlands bumping up. It's going to be Lexington, or like you said, it's going to be White Knoll or River Bluff. That's going to be a 2 seed. That's going to be some tough matchups there. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch 5A.
It really should be. I mean, all 3 of these classes tonight, 3A, 4A, 5A, are so deep. I feel like all can, really going to come down those last couple weekends, and we're not going to know what's going to happen. I feel like for sure. But appreciate you guys tuning in. If you missed our 1A, 2A SCSA show, it's happened on Monday. It's still on our Facebook page, still on our YouTube page. This show here, if you're just tuning in now and you missed 3A, missed 4A, whatever it is, you can watch it from the beginning. I'll try to put some timestamps in there so you can go back and check it out. So that'll be on our Facebook and YouTube as well as our podcast there. Like I mentioned earlier, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at Movin Chains, MOVINCHAINS.com. We'd love for you guys to share this video. Tell your friends about us, man. It's more fun for John and I and Drell and I when you guys throw in comments for us to kind of respond to. I mean, that makes it go better. Love having that from you guys. We do a weekly preview show every Tuesday night. So love to have you hopping in here talking about the biggest games across the state. So definitely tune in for that. Next week, website movingchains.com, podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Moving the Chains brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. John, the season is here pretty much, and we got jamborees Friday night, jamboree Saturday. We got week 0 next week. So a lot of good stuff. We got our preview show next Tuesday. We've got our Twitter Spaces coming back, or X Spaces, whatever you call it. I don't really care. On Friday nights, basically, if you guys missed that last year, it's like your old-fashioned radio call-in show, pretty much, except you can do it on your phone. So hop in on Twitter with us on Friday nights, probably 10:30, 11, whenever the game gets over. You can request to speak. If you were at the Gaffney game and we were at the Greenville game, you guys can hop in and tell us about the game. We're going to run through scores from across the state. Love to get you guys input on the game that you were at. I know last year, Zach always did. Clinton, he was really good about that. We had some guys from Gaffney. Patrick would hop in a lot of times from there. We had guys from Oceanside hop in with us, guys from South Florence hop in with us. Always fun to hear from guys all across the state. We're going to get some coaches in there this year as well to kind of do some recaps. That'll be a lot of fun to follow. I mentioned it earlier. Our Super 75 just dropped on Facebook and Twitter yesterday. A lot of good teams, a lot of good players on that list. Definitely go visit that and check that out. John, anything else I'm missing that we have coming up or coming out that I may not have shouted out already?
I want to echo what you're saying about the spaces. That last year was the first year that we did that. That was my favorite part of the season.
Yeah.
Okay, Friday night for us and for just about everybody probably tuning in on their way home from a game.
Yeah.
You still got the emotions running high from what you just witnessed, hearing scores from across the state. And then what I love also about that more than anything is not, okay, yeah, it was a 42-35 game. This is how we got there.
Yeah.
This is where everything changed. I love that. I'm really looking forward to Twitter X Spaces Friday.
And what's great, like you don't have to worry. Say you're a Midlands team and you play somebody upstate. You don't have to worry about trying to find a new radio station as you're driving home to see what the scores are. You don't have to listen to some 5-minute ad in the middle. We don't have that going on. We are just scores, comments, recaps, whole show long. So definitely tell everybody about that. Moving Chains on Twitter. It's a lot of fun to do that Spaces. So definitely hope you guys can hop in for that. We've got a couple more season previews coming out for you guys as well, along with a project with the Young Coaches Association we're working on. That should hopefully drop soon at some point, but got to work out a few kinks on that side. But a lot of really good stuff coming down the pipes, man. We're super excited to get the season rolling. A lot of really good football to watch this year, John. A lot of really good teams, really good players. Should be fun for sure. Right, Drell?
Yeah, I'm going to pop in. The one thing for me, John mentioned his favorite thing. Mine was the Pick'em contest.
Oh, that's coming back too.
So much fun. So I'll go ahead and plug this. We'll talk about it again on Tuesday. But make sure you join that Pick'em contest. Even if you miss week 0, we drop a week.
Yep.
So you can still, get in at week 1. You use your mulligan early if that's what you want to do. But the Pick'em contest is one of the most fun things. You get to keep allows you to keep up with all the teams throughout the state, throughout all the classifications. And our friends at Hannah Engineering do a great job of sponsoring that. Looking forward to beating you guys in the Pick'em contest again this year.
Yeah, that'll be dropping. I think we usually put the games out on Tuesday. I think it is right. I think we do, John. Tuesday morning we post out the Pick'em sheet and the link to do it. So definitely hop in and be a part of that. It's a lot of fun. We do a prize for the overall winner. We also do a playoff Pick'em. You get a win. You get a prize for winning that as well. So that's been really fun to follow. And like Terrell said, it gives you a reason to watch or just follow games that aren't really, just in your corner of the state, I would say.
For sure.
You're not just following your region anymore. You're not just following your class. You're following the whole state. It's a lot of fun to do. Even if you don't really follow that close, it's still fun to make the picks. It's not that hard to do. There's only 11 games each week. So definitely be a part of that. That'll drop next week. Hopefully you guys can get in that with us. And we've got, games of the week coming, players of the week coming, teams of the week coming. So a lot of great content for you guys. And just really do want to say I appreciate you guys for helping us grow this as much as it has. John and I have come a long way from sitting there with the iPad on the couch doing it. We got a little bit higher production quality now, but all because you guys have supported us. So I appreciate that. Any final words, John or Drell, before we close down for the night?
No, I want to thank you again for everyone that tuned in tonight, is tuned in before. If it's your first time, awesome. Thanks for coming in. And hopefully we have some more fun this season.
Darrell, we don't got you.
I'll keep it simple. Spot the dang ball. That's it.
Let's do it. Well, Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. This has been our 3A, 4A, and 5A season preview show. We'll be back next Tuesday for our Week 0 preview. For Jarrell Hendricks on the board, for John Epps, I'm Kevin Thomas, and we will catch you guys next week.